This is the Daily Treasure podcast produced by Mark Inc. Ministries, and I am Sharon Betters, your host. We are continuing in our series called Treasures of Faith, and these devotionals are rooted in a book that my husband Chuck and I wrote called Treasures of Faith. Today's devotional is Lies and More Lies, and today's treasure is from Genesis 13, verses 14 through 15. Lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see, I will give to you and your offspring forever. While in Egypt, Abraham continued his downward spiral. As is so often the case with us, Abraham compounded his problems, getting deeper and deeper into trouble. After first running to Egypt, instead of waiting upon God for help and direction, Abraham proceeded to compromise his wife's honor and in the process put all of their lives in jeopardy in order to achieve personal gain and possibly to save his own skin. He told Sarah in Genesis 12:3, "Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you." Sarah was so beautiful, Abraham feared the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, might kill him in order to take Sarah as his own. Abraham's ruse, however, was discovered, and even the pagan king of Egypt was indignant and outraged at Abraham's dishonorable behavior. Abraham and Sarah left Egypt in disgrace. Years later, Abraham, incredibly, tried the exact same ploy with Abimelech, king of Gerar. Once again, Abraham lied about his relationship to Sarah, and once again he was caught in the act. Genesis 20, verses 11 through 13, records Abraham's string of excuses when an outraged King Abimelech caught him red-handed in this act of subterfuge. Abraham first has the gall to blame Abimelech for the entire mess, actually excusing his own deceit by blaming it on the faithlessness of others. "I, Abraham, said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife." Then Abraham tried to get himself off the hook on a technicality. "Besides, she really is my sister, since she was the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife." And finally, he blamed his lie on God himself in Genesis 20, verse 13. "And when God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, 'This is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother.'" Abraham is suggesting here that since God called him on this journey in the first place, it was God who had put him in the position of having to make up all these lies just to get by. At no point, of course, does Abraham ever simply say, "I did wrong and I'm sorry." God had promised Abraham, "I will make you into a great nation. I will make your name great. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse those who curse you." And Abraham had concluded, if I don't take personal control of this situation, I might die. How could this man of God sin so blatantly? Perhaps Abraham, having received God's great promise about his destiny, nevertheless decided God needed a little help at the particularly rough spots they encountered along the way. However, through all of this, God did not give up on Abraham. Indeed, it was God who alerted both the king of Egypt and King Abimelech, through curses of disease and barrenness, respectively, to Abraham's lie. Abraham's attempt to control his situation might well have resulted in the very thing he most feared, his own death, had not God intervened time and again to save him. The riches Abraham accumulated in Egypt proved costly and were clearly the spoils of disbelief. They resulted in trouble and sorrow for his house and a blot upon his reputation. The wealth and lifestyle of Egypt, so tantalizing to Lot, soon became a source of conflict between Abraham and his nephew. Upon division of the land, Lot chose the property near the Jordan because it reminded him of Egypt, as we read in Genesis 13:10. Lot pitched his tents near Sodom and eventually decided to live within that wicked city, as we read in Genesis 13:12 through 13 and chapter 14, verse 12. After Lot and Abraham separated, leaving Abraham finally alone in the very place God had wanted him all along, the Lord instructed Abraham in Genesis 13, verses 14 through 15, "Lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever." Intimacy between this former pagan and God had at last been restored. though the consequences of his trek into Egypt were not yet over. Friends, can you see Jesus in Abraham's story? See the thread of redemption weaving in and out of Abraham's life. God calls him out of darkness into his light. God promises that Abraham will not travel this pathway alone, for God will walk beside him every step of the way, teaching Abraham how to worship the one true God. Abraham repeatedly stumbles. He does not avoid the consequences of sin, but God rescues him again and again. Likewise, our God calls us out of darkness into the light of Jesus. The promises of God to Abraham are ours as well. He will never leave us, but will open our eyes to his glory. And in response to his bottomless love and total salvation, we learn how to display his glory by walking in obedience, knowing that when we fail, and we will, he will not turn away, but he will hold us tightly in his grip. Oh, Father, thank you for giving us a glimpse of the bigger story of redemption and how you are still writing our stories. Amen. Friends, I just love this story of Abraham because I am so much like Abraham, and the redemption that is threaded through his life is threaded through my life. Yes, there are scorch marks, and God is using those scorch marks to teach me to lean into Jesus, to show me his grace, so that I'm compelled to share that story of grace with others. What is your story? Where are you in your story? Know that when you know Jesus, Jesus is writing your story through your life. Give him an opportunity to use your platform to glorify him in every moment of every day. Friends, thanks so much for joining us for this Daily Treasure podcast, and I encourage you to share it with others if God is using it to touch your heart. It is one of the only ways that people will discover us. I go by reviews, and if a friend tells me that a book is really good or a podcast is great, I'm going to check it out. So I hope that you will help us spread the word about the Daily Treasure podcast. I want to encourage you also to go to helpandhopenow.org and check out our Help and Hope podcast. Today, I want to showcase a conversation where the tables were turned on me. I'm one of the guests, along with my dear friend, Susan Hunt, and our son, Chuck, is the host of this podcast. We talk about flourishing in an anti-aging culture, and some of you are familiar with the book that Susan and I wrote called Aging with Grace, Flourishing in an Anti-Aging Culture. And in this conversation, we talk about some of the topics in that book. There are many blessings that come with age, retirement, grandchildren, travel if we're able, and life experiences. But let's face it, our culture marginalizes old age, often portraying it as burdensome and hopeless. Many older women can feel like an encumbrance rather than a blessing to their friends and family members. And so in this conversation, we acknowledge that aging can be hard and challenging, but we encourage aging women, older women, to find hope through both real life and biblical accounts of women who rediscovered gospel-rooted joy later in life. When you listen, you're going to be encouraged as you experience afresh a gospel that is big enough, good enough, and powerful enough to make every season of life significant and glorious. So go to helpandhopenow.org, click the Help and Hope link, and look for this podcast, as Help and Hope podcast, called Flourishing in an Anti-Aging Culture, where Susan Hunt and I talk with my son, Chuck, about this critical and very important topic, aging with grace. I'm Sharon Betters, and I look forward to being with you tomorrow.